Mugambi, Kiai. So today we have two guests. It's Angela Angwenyi, who is a PR, media and broadcast journalist on her birthday. She's our guest host today.
They're lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vogue. Is there a camera? Please, camera on me.
And Mugambi Kiai, who's the regional director for Article 19 Eastern and Horn of Africa. Good morning, Mugambi.
Mugambi is very fine, thank you. Good morning, Eric.
I was going to say, what's Article 19? Is it a thing?
No, Article 19 is actually a freedom of expression watchdog.
Oh.
Derived from Article 19 of the International Covenant Civil Political Rights, which is part of the Universal Bill of Rights. Now, Kizungu nyingi, just to say we are human rights watchdog that deals with freedom of speech, access to information.
Oh.
Yeah.
What is freedom of speech, Mugambi?
The freedom for you to not just have ideas, but to disseminate ideas. Your freedom to look for ideas. Your freedom to talk, to speak. Your freedom to protest. Actually, right now, what we're doing is enjoying the freedom of expression.
Okay.
And it has been mistaken only to mean that it is related to civic space. It actually is also related to socioeconomics, because you must be able to speak to say you're hungry or to say you have no healthcare. Yeah. So it was Professor Amartya Sen, who you would know is the Nobel Economic
Peace Prize winner.
Yeah, prize winner, not peace prize.
Oh,
Economic.
okay,
Economic.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
in 92. Who related it as, he called freedom as development. There's a correlation between freedom and development. And it's only very rare cases where you do not have freedom and you have development. That's the exception. The rule is you must have freedom, because that's the only way.
I was going to say
So
Rwanda.
freedom precedes development.
Yeah. So freedom, they don't. What actually happens is freedom. Development as freedom and freedom as development. It's like chicken and egg.
Okay.
Yeah. So you decide which is your...
Which one comes first?
And you will find actually in Rwanda, the prognosis actually is what happens after this era. Because you can have this so-called big man who's everything to everyone. But when you look down the road, you ask yourself, is that sustainable? And if you actually look at Kenya in the 70s, one of the analysis was the problem had been we had a big man. And the cookie crumbled or began crumbling because of the big man. So it becomes factional
exit
fights.
the big man, and
Yes,
then
so it's
now
John.
you have issues.
Yes. So actually what happens is you must look at development from the perspective that, Eric, actually what you are now is a developed product of a long line of things that happen to you. And freedom, what it does, it helps you actualize that.
Yeah.
So your education, for example. So when you say Kizungu jingi, I mean, the person who normally articulates good English very, very easily is CT here, right? But you
I bet
see,
you didn't know that.
But you see, let me tell you what happens. So development is normally seen as what, these little shiny objects, roads, hospitals, schools. No.
That's not development. Thank you. Preach.
Development is a human person.
Preach.
Is you rising to be the best you can be, right? And therefore, that's what we say, that when we free you through giving you education, through giving you healthcare, through giving you... So whenever I see these statistics that were developed because we built N kilometers of road, I say, but where are the people?
We're actually underdeveloped. If based on
There
your
you go.
definition, we may have infrastructural
There you
develment,
go.
but we're
But as a
underdeveloped
people,
as a
we are
people.
Which is why we
are
call them white
underdeveloped.
elephants.
Underdeveloped.
Explain the underdevelopment, though.
So underdevelopment is a people who are not actualizing their true potential. It's that simple. So true potential means, and again, using Gini whatever figures and GDP, those are all indicators. But the best one is to look at the state of the people.
The state of the country.
Yeah, the state of the people. So we can have the biggest hospitals, yet people are dying every day.
Okay.
As someone told me, you can have the biggest bed but have no sleep.
That's true.
Today.
You can have the biggest bed but no sleep.
So what you're saying, Mugambi, in essence is this, that freedom equals access.
Freedom is not equals.
Is.
So part of freedom is access. Part of it. The other part is you then actualizing that access to do something.
Yes. So where the big man syndrome then comes in is everything revolves around the big man.
There you go.
So you don't really have access.
No.
And the access is on someone else's terms. But what you are referring to is access on your terms, on terms that are agreeable to you.
To you.
And not necessarily with any untoward influence.
Yes. And remember where we came from, which was the state. You know when they said the original state, which was mean, which was brutal,
Restrictive.
yes, which was, and we formed society so we can, as a community, find ourselves into those paths, right? So the idea is where my right stops, where my development stops, is where her nose starts, right? So all this is where I'm free. The rest we must negotiate. If I need to touch her, I have to negotiate, and that's why we talk about even for female bodies, it is their right. You can't buy that.
So in essence, again, we are saying that when we looked at what happened in the 1990s in this country, we then had something very unique, access to dissent.
Yes.
Meaning,
protest, yes.
Yes, the freedom to say, no, sorry, I don't like what I'm seeing, and I'm going to show you why I don't like it.
There you go.
And I'm going to action it.
And that was development. That was a key part of our development now.
What you're then saying is that in the 90s, if you use that as a ballpoint, we were thriving.
Trust me, we were boiling, incandescent, effervescent. It was, again, I grew up, I'm a child of the 90s.
Yes.
I'm a child of the human rights movement. I have never enjoyed myself as much. In fact, when Angela asked me about my dreadlocks, it comes from a phase where that the culmination of that was NAC, right?
The National Rainbow Coalition.
Remember, NARC. Within 24 months, what were we saying? Nothing actually really changed. Remember that? Why? Suddenly we realized, this haki yetu, it had owners. We sang about KICC. Suddenly, KICC was back to jostling. I think for a lot of people, two things happened. One is, you remember we used to arrest police officers who were taking bribes. Suo moto, without anyone telling us anything. You see a cop, he's taking bribe, you tell him, boss, 20.
Yeah.
Big.
Or they
20.
take off and they chase.
Yes, we were doing it. We were the ones who were telling our leaders, the new dawn. And then what happened? We realized, boss, as Moi had warned us before, Kenya has its owners. And the first, for me, realization was when someone came and whispered, we went to reclaim our property, Hapa Kabarnet Gardens. And we found there's a title deed that had been issued by the Kibaki government through Mr. Kimunya. And we realized, And before long, my friend John Gidongo was in trouble. Now some people who are saying Fagia every day were the ones who are using others who are ministers.
People turned.
The politicians showed us really who they were. By the time the late Michuki was telling us, you don't need constitutional change. We are in power.
Yeah.
We is there, master.
We needed it when we were not in power. But now that we're in power, we don't need it.
We don't need it.
George Orwell, in Animal Farm, I keep on saying, literature is...
that's the most poignant book.
We miss the point when I hear some people saying that you don't need literature and history. And he told us a long time ago.
Yeah.
When we started saying 2 legs good, 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. That's what we were doing. You remember what we used to sing?
Yeah.
Yote yaweza kana bila.
Moi.
And then?
Moi alisema goodbye.
Moi left.
And he said, I forgive all of you. And he forgave us. You know what he did? He laughed all his way. The other day when we were celebrating him, I asked someone, so what did we not do? He said, there's something called Moism. Moi left, Moism remained. Kenyatta, Jomo left, Jomoism remained. Kibaki is maybe the only one who's left. I'm not sure there's Kibakiism. Right? But this transition, it looks like there could be
Uhuruism.
Uhuruism now coming in.
It is a real...
What is the Uhuruism? Just describe it, sorry.
Uhuruism is a different creature altogether. Uhuruism is a mix of Jomo and Moi. It's a mix of two.
The two teachers he had, actually.
Yes.
His two main teachers.
Yes. So there's Jomo who dies, again, iconic.
Yeah.
Jomo was, when someone is 15 years older than you, I don't know if you picture this, because Kenyatta Jomo, as a politician, was 2 generations ahead of everyone else, right? So when you see people struggling,
Everybody else worked for him.
like Charles Jonjo, and that is what someone also mentioned. People worked for Jomo. So James Gishuru used to warm a seat, and when Jomo comes from prison or from exile,
Take the seat.
right? So Jomo had this thing of the state worked for him. He did not need the party. So all these instruments were just to keep him at that. He's a monarch. He's a proper monarch. The next monarch I have seen was Moi, because Moi instrumentalized single party power, and that's what we stripped him off in the 90s, right? And we thought, now we have got a liberal democracy. The next monarch I've seen is Uhuru Kenyatta. Uhuru starts off in 2002, losing badly. I repeat, losing badly. He had 31.1% of the vote.
Yep.
Kibaki had 62.2% of the vote. It's 2-1. Let me tell you, when you do 2-1 in politics, you have been smashed, you have been shattered, you have been eviscerated. That man, 10 years down the line, is our president.
Yep.
Disputed. If you remember, one of the biggest disputes in 2013 was played out in the Supreme Court, where some people have never forgiven one of my mentors, Willie Mutunga, for that ruling, right? Because there was a script that was disallowed, and we said that script had the truth, but we never saw it. We never any which way. He starts as a disputed leader, president. Right now, he's living a king. You know, he's living a king. His own deputy president is quote unquote the opposition.
Yep.
So there's no opposition there. Truly. Because you're
The leader of the opposition.
in the house you can, if you're given that room pale kwa SQ.
You're in the
You're in the
compound.
house, in the compound.
Yeah.
The guy who's your best friend and now your brother is supposed to be the guy taking you on. You're sharing access to everything, perhaps, but the utensils are. So the man has no opposition. So when you tell him that he's going to declare April officially open, I say you are where Moi was, because we used to laugh. I used to play rugby, and one of the songs went about how Moi would declare the ozone layer officially open. That was how powerful. That's how powerful he was.
But wait, let me just ask a question, taking you back to Jomoism, Moism, and so on.
Yes.
Okay. Let me be the devil's advocate here. Within those eras, the nation worked, right?
Did it?
No, I'm asking. We had development. Education systems were put in place. I feel the economy was not as
during which era is this?
whichever, whether it was the Jomo, whether it was the Moi, because I'm talking about.
So what happens is,
I just want to ask though, with this newfound freedom of voice that Kenyans have, because if I want to reference it, Rwanda is as developed as it is because Kagame had to put his foot down, and I'm sorry. I personally feel democracy doesn't always work for Africa and African nations. With all this so-called democracy, we have more chaos than ever. I would rather, as president, who does whatever he's supposed to do to ensure my life is much better. Whether or not it is one guy for 100 years, I don't care. China works.
So
China works, and they have a...
So first of all, don't be sorry for that opinion. I faced it a lot of times. The first time I faced it actually was when Moi used to warn us that pluralism will
bring tribalism.
chaos.
Look where we are.
Yeah.
Didn't he speak? That man was a prophet.
No. So the question was, did we not see chaos during the Moi era?
We did.
In
What
Rwanda,
chaos?
look, 1992. What was
I know.
92,
I know.
97.
I know.
97, yeah.
I know.
So the question is,
But
did
we're
the
never
economy-
as divided as we are now.
Really?
Are you sure?
I'm asking.
No. So that's the question.
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
So I hear you. So part of it is we're not exceptional. So let's start with this. We're not exceptional. The world has a way it works. If you look at classic examples, Rwanda. So let's not use Ethiopia anymore. Ethiopia, finally that bubble burst. It burst the other day because it used to be used as one of the examples.
Yeah.
So Rwanda has actually had how many strongmen?
In its history?
When has it not had a strong
Very
man?
good. Very good. Now that's a good start. Now that's a good place to start.
City.
You see what happens is,
That's a good
as
point.
soon as you go there and we say that Rwanda is working, so it has, out of its N number of strongmen, only one. I can tell you. So what have we been doing in Kenya? Has democracy been working? Have our institutions been working? In this last era, let me ask you, where has parliament been? Because if Parliament was actually outside being an institution where people were making noise and fighting and there's fracas, we should not have incurred that amount of debt, right? Because this small book called the Constitution of Kenya, it actually says that to manage public debt, is it under 232 when there's public finance, that Parliament must consent. Parliament is a handmaiden in the state. Why? Because what actually happened as soon as we promulgated this constitution, the first thing we did was, again, put it candle and go to our old practices.
And when we
So one of the
continue
things you must understand about Jomoism and Moism is something that keeps on being referred to. It's the software. The software, our national software, remains very authoritarian. Right? So we can play this game of democracy and all that.
But it's not.
Uhuru Kenyatta is called Mugambi among my people.
What does Mudavaki mean?
I was going to go
It means
there.
the savior. Yes.
Lord.
There you go. Same difference. It means, by the way, that's what it means. If you're called Mutogoria, Mudamaki, and all that, people genuflect. You are the same. You know the last
Which is
person
not
was
a bad thing if he was actually
the person
saying
who was called Black Jesus or Michael Jordan. Black. You know, by the time people call you that, they both revere you,
Yeah,
fear you,
yeah.
Everything.
and there's an aura, right? And that was what Jomo. By the time he's called Mzee by Wazez, people who in our era, you don't. My own father, him who was 40 years my elder, calling another man Mzee, boss.
And he's Mzee in his own
Yeah,
right.
by that time, that is a serious person in terms of just the mindset. Our mindset has always been, and you think about all our institutions, even the private ones, your family, your school, we're very authoritarian. Most likely.
That's who we are culturally.
Exactly.
In
the schools I went.
That's who we are. We.
Yeah.
Now, that's the question. Do we have our history right? Or was that the story that was told about us?
No, that's who
By
we
from-
are.
No. Culturally, let me tell you.
No.
So the Gikuyu did not have.
A supreme leader.
Yes, they had a council.
Many African communities
Thank you.
had councils.
It was actually called Acephalus. It did not have one head. It's called Acephalus, which I always say now.
But there was one guy.
No.
Are you sure there was no one
Angela,
guy?
the problem with our education was that it taught you what it wanted you.
Okay.
It gave us so the whole concept of the chief
Yes. The chief comes with the Muzungu.
was brought by the Mzungu.
Yes.
Yes, that's Lugard. Lord Lugard with divide and rule.
We have
He's
to
the one who
develop
comes with divide and rule and,
And
says that's your chief.
And
No,
remember, the chief
Before
was,
that
was
was-
appointed
Yes.
by the
By-
colonial government.
Thank you.
Whereas the traditional setup had
They have
their own
own-
form of leadership.
Thank you. These two
They did.
sit, read even Jomo Kenyatta's Facing Mount Kenya. It is there in black and white. But if you want to hide a secret, write a book. You want to hide a secret, write a constitution.
read, yeah.
Because people don't read it.
Yeah, of course.
So you're telling me the
Please, I
Koita Lels
told-
and all these guys only came the one advent of colonialism.
So majority, we said majority were. So there was Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu by again.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
that's some-
in,
that's some-
in
that's
West,
some
in
kings.
West Africa they have got kings
Yeah.
and they have one
Exactly.
authority.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But even then, the king was accountable subjects.
The king was the first among equals.
Thank you.
Please.
Yes.
Remember, in a kingdom, don't go to West Africa. Let's just go to Uganda.
Uganda.
Yes. They had kings.
Yes.
But if you look at the structure, yes, you are king, but you didn't sort of like lord it over everyone.
He did not wake up one day and just.
There was a reference point.
No. And so what actually happened was that history, which you find now in our public libraries and university libraries, no one has. So what do we know on TikTok? Is the authoritarian narrative. Remember, the stories of Inisati are told by its victors. Who won after this? The Mukoloni. So as again, I am told several times by one of my mentors, even colonialism. So the colonial government left, but colonialism did not
That's
leave.
not-
So what is what we call again the left call neo-colonialism, but I still call colonial because our thinking,
It's still
our thinking.
You don't remember when people talk about
Mugambi
Great
preaching this
Britain, you forget these tribes. The English are the English.
Yes.
The Scots are the Scots.
Yeah.
The Irish are the
Those are
Irish. The
tribes.
Welsh are the Welsh.
Those are tribes.
Now, the English seem to have been the clever of this whole lot. Because they're the ones who went and imposed their system.
On everyone else.
On everyone else.
This thing of chiefs they brought here, they had practiced it in their country. They directly perfected it.
Yes. So for me, when you look at Kenyatta, think of Kenyatta as inheriting and then finessing
A structure that had
very
been
good.
established.
Moi coming and sharpening its fangs and talons.
Hey.
Yes. And then again, I'm doing this because, as I said, when I turn 50 this year, I'm writing that book. The book, which is not in text, it's in TikTok. Now, Kibaki comes, and Kibaki is again a child. Those who went to Makarari in Kibaki's time will tell you one thing: that when they were being called monkeys by the Wazungus, they gave Kibaki a first class honors. So that was the genius of a monkey.
Yes.
So Kibaki is, people look at Kibaki, they don't understand what would make a man like that in the 70s. He was among the top 10 time named world leaders or world future leaders. That's what Kibaki was. And in that space were people like Tomboya, who had been assassinated in the 60s. We had a leadership. I look at people like Kenneth Matiba as well. Jaramogi. We had a leadership that did the following: that actually, had we not taken this path we took from 64, when we made Kadu, when Kadu was made to join Kanu, if we had not taken that path, we'd actually be talking about Kenya being in the first world. Because you look at, for example, some of the development plans that we keep on saying, Singapore, who then came and borrowed. I don't know about that history, but I hear
They say Malaysia.
Malaysia, and they say, and I don't know who and who. I'm telling you, we had software. Look at Obama's father, who dies drinking here because a lot of the things they dreamt of
were not being
neglected
implemented.
as we then began to divide ourselves.
But they weren't fully neglected because Obama's father worked with Kibaki.
Yes.
They were in the same ministry.
Yes.
And it is argued that among the things that made that particular department work
Really work.
was this symbiotic relationship between these two individuals here.
Very good. So what actually happens to Obama's father is he sees Kibaki, Kibaki's star. Him, again, and this is where
He's
victimhood.
deemed.
Yes.
Yeah. No, him, and again, because he's Luo. And I keep on saying, when in 2002, Gidi Gidi are singing Unbogable, and they say, can't a young Luo make
Money anymore.
They're talking about a victimhood that
Started from,
And we must be very, very clear. When Jaramogi is fighting with Kari Francis in my alma mater, because Kari Francis is making teachers wear kaptulas. People don't understand. In Kikuyu, Kikuyu town, when you're wearing kaptulas, boss, you must have hairy legs. You must have hairy. You don't know the cold. He's fighting and saying, listen, you can't do this to us. But that was what the Mzungu thought about us, and what then this ethnic thing became. That some, again, metaphorically began to wear kaptulas, whereas others wore trousers. And that's where, again, the last point about this break between Jaramogi and Jomo. Jomo's right-hand lieutenant at this point is Tomboya. Asuba, who's considered Luo. Asuba always tell you, we're not Luo. But then everyone then says, and this was adopted as part of the narrative that Tomboya was Luo. So let's take that. Jaramogi's right-hand man was Piled Kagia. So where is ethnicity in this?
In fact, Jaramogi's private secretary was a Chingoneko.
Yeah.
So
I keep on saying this, that this. So we have ethnicity. In fact, I look at everything that we do. So you talk about the three political chiefs we have in Kenya now: Uhuru Kenyatta, Raila Odinga, and William Ruto. All of them, what we call their strongholds. Your boss, your Ningome, it's an ethnic enclave.
But why have you neglected
take a break.
Kalonzo right there? Are you saying he's fighting for his space?
There are political slave kings, and then there's the political chiefs.
27 minutes
No,
to
and
8.
I am being.
We are taking a break.
I'm taking.
It's okay. It's okay. We get it.
Let me know.
Yeah, we get it.
And let me
27
say
minutes
this before you go. No. With all respect, if I did not name you as a political chief, among those three.
You're a slay king.
You need to work from being, you can work. And because William Ruto was not always a chief.
You can rise.
No, we are coming.
He has plowed the vineyards.
Yeah, you can rise. 27 to 8. Mugambi Kiai is the regional director for Article 19, Eastern and Horn of Africa. We're here talking about the politics and getting to understand our politics and Article 19. Are we developing? Do we have freedoms? Are we developing our freedoms as well? Are we developing as a country economically because of the freedoms that we have or not? Angela Ngwenyi is our guest host today. Eric and City in the Situation Room. Ndu is away enjoying her Easter. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room.
Eric Latif, CT Muga, our guest host today. Angela Ngwenyi, who's a PR, media and broadcast journalist. And Mugambi Kiai, Regional Director, Article 19, Eastern and Horn of Africa. Telling us Article 19 is about freedoms, freedom of expression beginning, and then other freedoms as well. So, do we have freedom of expression in the country, Mugambi?
Yes, we do. But
Too much of it.
there goes Angela again.
Eh?
Imagine
We have excess freedom.
imagine saying that. Just saying that. Isn't that freedom?
That is freedom.
By just intrinsically saying too much.
Implying that we just
Yes.
have too much.
Now, what actually happens is, yes, we do. But the
does
challenge is,
does it not also imply
yes,
that our mindset is one of
Totalitarianism,
totalitarianism,
yes.
so that anything that goes beyond the boundaries that you have in your mind
There you go.
is too much.
and that's what's actually coming to CT.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was coming there because what actually happens is when we say there's too much freedom, again, as I said, from even our very nuclear institutions, our families,
Yeah.
the way we were brought up. I was brought up among eight kids, right? So there's a place where if you start saying that you don't want uji today, or you don't want githeri today, boss, either a slipper or a belt or something. So this idea of too
And
much
you're left
freedom.
to starve.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean-
exactly. So this. But you see, when your
Suka.
parents don't feel guilty about not having persuaded you.
Yes.
When you go to school, the best I saw was school. School, you miss something in a math paper.
You
put
miss
that-
a step.
You miss a step. But you will not know hell's demons until that stick. So what actually happens is expression is given this very bad term where whenever we speak, and especially when we speak against what we see, which normally is the authority figure, there's a punishment to it. And the authority figure is one who sets the rules. So, as I said, when I went to high school, the one thing you were told is you take your medicine first, and then you can ask why.
Yes.
Yeah, so you're punished first, you ask why. And I said, so some of us used to ask, but but we kept to the line.
This is alliance. I mean,
The-
where are you going?
No, I went to
Yeah.
Alliance. Yes. But I did not say it is you who said it.
Did you go to Alliance too?
Yes, because,
No, I wasn't in a bush.
No.
All those
you see,
schools were in some bush or the other. Development came later.
Exactly. So
Yes.
and anyway, as you saw with a burning bush, you cannot consume the bush.
True.
You can burn, but you can't consume. Anyway, let me not go there because that's
I was going to say this is the Moses story.
yeah. There you go. Someone who knows her Bible. Now,
Calm down.
no. So
Someone who knows her
too
Old
much freedom
Testament.
is as follows. That when I speak, as someone said, when I speak about the famine in Turkana, and I say let's raise funds. I'm a nice guy. That is a patriot. That
Yeah.
is someone who wants.
It's a noble
But when I
cause.
ask, where is there poverty?
Where is there famine in
No,
Turkana?
why is there enduring
Enduring poverty.
Yes.
When I say, then that is a troublemaker.
You're an activist.
Yes. And that's what we were telling Professor Magoha. But he came and said it's a human rights activist, which means dreadlock people like me, who are responsible for these kids burning schools.
Yes.
We said, boss,
No.
boss, do you actually know what these kids do at night? They talk a language I don't understand. Through media, I can't even
Consume.
access. So if they buy paraffin or kerosene or whatever fuel, they're doing it among themselves. Why? Because they're tired of being locked up in institutions where they don't see sports, they don't debate each other, they don't. If you've been to an all-boys school,
Yeah.
you've been to an all-boys school, and you're told you cannot see girls, give or take 7 days.
Give or take the odd debate.
There, give or take.
Now here you're told the whole time.
Boss.
Are you about to say
And
it's a human right?
a term of how many weeks? These terms that have
But
come.
he does have a point. If you look at what we
Yes,
refer
it's
to
a
as
social.
freedom of agency,
Yeah.
look at our Kenyan society and look at what the freedom of young women to go to school. Look at what it has brought about in the country.
In the country.
I'm giving that as an example. Previously, girls couldn't go to school.
There you go.
Or if you did, it was, just...
It was against the grain.
Yes, but then you normalized it.
Yes. And
What-
so you cannot blame us. You can't blame us. Let me also tell you another thing about the youth. Me, all the youth I have known, they always ban stuff. The Mau Mau were going to ban Kenya. Not B-A-N, B-U-R-N, ban Kenya. Why? By the time you go to a forest or forests and you say we're coming to Nyonga you with your chiefs and your a certain class of and Wazungus were going to do that. That's what the Mau Mau did. And I was asked one thing. Did the Mau Mau even put down a proposal to go into a forest? No. When the so-called young tax, my generation now of political, the ones I saw, among them, Paul Mwite, Raila Odinga, Gitobi Manyara, James
Anyona.
Orengo, Martha Karua, Georgia. By the time you're a young tack, you're saying, my friends, I know tomorrow I'll be arrested. Because in most days, let's be clear, if you said a certain thing,
It was clear. It was
you-
obvious.
You knew sedition, incitement. There were charges that were there that used to be there, sitting charges that were waiting for you. So if you're a lawyer, most of them, what you elected to do is keep quiet and make money because it's a safe thing to do and actually not a bad life. But some actually decided, you know what, we're taking on the system. That is, you're banning. You decide, I'm going to ban, right? When we were here stoning Moi yote yawezekana on 30th December 2002, we were banning. We were saying, listen, we have banned the edifice. The palace is gone. King is gone. And we forgot. Long live the king. A new one started being set up.
So if we have freedom, and
Yes.
you're saying, Angela is saying that we have excess freedom.
So there's a difference between freedom and anarchy. Yeah?
Uh-huh.
So there's a place where you can go where there's anarchy. And I said that's where the society's news starts. So, and I keep on trying to tell NCIC this. What you coin as hate speech, my friends, is protected. Sipangwingwi is actually protected speech.
What is the Pangwingwi, by the way? What does it mean?
Spangwingwi is a term of revolt that says you can't come and arrange me. You can't come and
you
You can't keep reorganizing.
Reorganize me
as
as you.
And it's
actually-
a slogan for
for
Ruto.
youth. It's a
You-
youth.
you
Yeah,
can't order me
Ruto,
around.
Ruto has again appropriated something that was a very innocent part of youth revolt. Sipangwingwi was, listen, you didn't give us jobs. You closed us down in schools.
So you can't be
I
telling
can't in the middle class.
It's basically a young person
Yes,
telling
young
an older
persons.
person, maisha
Yeah.
ni yangu, we shughulika na yako.
Ako.
Sipangwingwi.
Yes.
Yeah, lots of new words
Yeah,
today.
exactly. So Sipangwingwi was actually part of, and actually what's happening in Kenya, which I find very refreshing. Again, I go back to Professor Magoha. He says some things that, as he said, you can't stop with a gun. An idea whose time has come is one. This Sipangwingwi, we have discovered from the Mkoloni to Jomo to Moi we have been pangwed. And even now, the symbol of Kupangwa right now is what they're calling a state project. Yet Raila doing away, no. Can never be anyone's project, by the way.
Raila cannot be
Cannot-
anybody's project.
I did not stutter. Cannot be a state project.
How do you say
Raila Odinga can be supported by someone. But Raila Odinga, even his father couldn't panga him.
Apangwingwi?
No, even his father. Why? His father, when he gave power, he gave it to Amalwa and James Orengo, who then it became the new ethnic chief, who became the Ramogi of the Luos. James Orengo or Raila Agwambo, Tinga. And I tell people, let's be very clear about history.
But the Raila of then is not the Raila of now.
Tactics,
Yes,
tactics.
which is true. I mean, this
Tactics.
is an easier way for him to get
Yes.
into the
So
position
if
of power.
today
Is
Messi,
it easier really?
no, is it? That's a question you ask.
It's easier because
Is it easier?
okay. Let's argue.
Yes.
Right now, he's got the backing of the Kikuyu vote.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
Not really,
Does he?
not
Are you
really,
sure?
not really.
Everything I'm
no,
seeing
he's got the
tells
backing.
me-
No, he's got the backing of
Everything I'm seeing-
Mudamaki. No,
Yeah,
wait.
exactly.
He has
So
the
it's got
backing
the
of
backing
Mudamaki.
of the government in power.
Yes.
The government in
He
power.
has
Yes.
the backing of Uhuru.
Uhuru.
Mudamaki.
So,
Savior.
So, sometimes a king may have no clothes.
And no,
Clothes normally is a
yeah,
people.
yeah.
Is this one of them? That's a question we're asking ourselves right now. Because what's happening in Kenya is there's an active revolt going on especially in Mount Mulima, Mount Kenya, against what they are seen as impoverishment.
Yeah.
Where someone said, quote unquote, "Mutikago idhie," don't let me down, do not drop me. So they held him up because, trust me, 2013 and 2017 were such hot elections.
So is that going to work as a disadvantage?
And that's what we're asking
for
ourselves.
Raila.
So again, the problem with this is not social sciences are humanities. I cannot tell you until I see all the ingredients. Up to
The
including
ingredients are in the making as we speak.
yes,
Ingredients meaning what? Number two?
Yes, exactly. This is what I'm telling you now. People like Kalonzo, they're slickings. Why? Because Kalonzo has been was a deputy president in 2007. Deputy president or vice president then, right? William Ruto became a deputy president in 2013.
Yes, he did.
So why would one be a principal and the other still running mate? Musalia Mudavadi was a vice president in 2002. Now he can't even make running mate in my view. So are you seeing what I'm trying to say? That in Kenya the following politicians actually have to work very, very hard. William Ruto has worked very hard. So has Raila Odinga. Yeah. William Ruto, unless an accident happens, a force majeure happens, will be no one's project ever. No one's project.
He's his own man.
His own man.
Yep.
And yellow now is a color that is his color.
Everybody, okay, so
like Kanu.
Oh, like the one you're wearing.
You remember the Kanu red?
he's wearing the Ghana
colours. You remember the Kanu red?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Kanu red was a Kanu.
Yeah, you know that's Jogo. Yes. And that is Moi. We knew that.
So you've declared 3 chiefs.
Yes.
Uhuru, I guess, Jomo. I mean, those are obvious.
Yeah.
Raila has worked his way. Raila is one of the longest standing politicians
political
we have.
Strategists,
Yes.
political.
Ruto is the new kid on the block.
Yes.
But Ruto is one of the smartest politicians in this country, in
agree.
my personal opinion.
I
I don't
agree.
think anybody shines a
No one
light.
is
Like
fighting
right
that
now.
No one is fighting that.
Now, how did he get to be a chief? Like, I'm
Because-
sorry, I would think a Gideon or
To be a chief, you need people.
Yes. So what actually happened with William? Actually, we saw this. So William leaves university in 1990. A year before, the year before I joined university. At that point, people say he used to lead Christian Union and take entourages too.
Was even in a choir.
Yes, but the key is a grouping called YK92. In there he goes and he finds people who, at that point, he'd be calling Wazito, Jirongo,
People he looked up to.
Amayo, a number of them. Even this guy who was in the
In football.
Football, yes, Nyamwea. All of them were his bosses. And the guy, as someone said, would run errands. He was a KYM. He'd run errands, spanner boy.
bag boy. I heard
right?
that story.
What does he do? He looks, asks himself, now, these ones, what is it they bring to the table that I do not have?
Yeah.
And he begins to work on them. But he's got one thing that people don't understand about William. William sees opportunities that no one ever sees. So whenever you need something, William will get it for you.
He's a guy.
He's a guy.
I know
Go-to
a guy.
So
He's that guy.
So when he comes as Jirongo, and I tell people you should watch this interview that Jirongo did. I think with Gashoka on Gashoka's former show on KTN. When he says, "Listen, we supplied." We said, let's support our young guys working here.
Yeah.
So we got William. He's supposed to give us 1 million T-shirts.
Yep.
So William says, I don't have the money. So I'll bring them in batches of 1,000. So he brings 1,000, takes them to the storeroom, gets the papers from the store guys, comes, presents it, gets his invoice, goes back to the storeroom and pays
It's the
guys.
same. Uh-huh.
Pays the guys, takes his 1,000 T-shirts back,
Okay.
then delivers them
back
again. He did that for 1 million T-shirts. So Jirongo is saying, you don't understand the genius of this man.
Hence the
Right?
hustler mentality.
Yeah, and actually, when he says, Jirongo doesn't like me because, look at where
He was my
Jirongo is
boss.
and where I am now. I mean, I would understand even me, that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what William does. William does another trick. William is a political ventriloquist in the following manner. When Moi is leaving, and as activists are saying now, give us back what is our wealth. You took. William stood and said, we Kalenjin MPs will tell you one thing. If you touch that old man, Muguse, we are going to take a Teza. And for real, I had made Kibaki had conservative instincts, but it's the one that confirms the retreat and confirms to the Kalenjin they have a new warrior chief.
But Mugambi,
Gideon at that point is still playing golf.
Mugambi, Polo.
Yes.
Polo. He plays polo.
Yeah, it's polo.
Not
Yes,
golf,
true.
polo.
Yep.
Hey, look at you, CT.
No. He knows his sports. He knows his sports.
The thing is, that statement could make or have lent itself to some weight
Yes.
because
Yeah.
of a captive population in the Rift Valley.
Yes.
So it would make sense to Kibaki
There you go.
because the target.
Yes.
And
Of course.
yes.
Is
we
diaspora.
we have your community.
Yeah. Diaspora. And for the longest time, the political conversation in Kenya has been about that community. The political conversation about when you hear Gunjiri Wambugu say, we shall not be sold to fear. He's telling them, you guys, you think you have our guys hostage. We are not going to buy it. We're not going to buy it.
Prior to that, there's a gentleman called Chesire who had held the position as the MP
Timothy,
for
yeah.
Eldoret Town
Yes.
for the longest time.
Yeah.
That is the person that William Ruto defeated.
Who was Tesire?
That was a serious man.
No, who was Tesire? He was Moi's nephew.
Yes, a serious
Or
man.
cousin.
He wasn't just your everyday
No,
politician.
yeah.
So William was
William
a force
gravitas.
was a force to reckon with even then.
By himself.
So, I mean, going back to what you said,
Yes.
to become a chief, you
You
need,
need
people.
people.
William knows how to
Yes,
get
Moi
people.
was exiting.
Look at
Yeah.
him now.
Yeah.
Look at him
Yeah.
now. The youth population.
But I just want to say this, Mugambi.
Yeah.
Isn't it sad, though, we're sitting here, and as Mr. Article 19, that
Yeah.
we're discussing tribal mergers?
It's the saddest
I
thing.
mean, I'm sorry. I mean, haven't we evolved to the
No,
point
we're
where
not. No, we're
Actually,
we are not? So,
No,
so I
we're
should
not.
sit
Let
here
me
and
disagree
No,
with
no,
both of you.
whoever
we,
does.
We have evolved. You know why? We can talk about it openly
Yes.
and understand it for what it is. That's what it's all about.
True.
Denying that it exists, that's the joke.
And actually, for me, I always say there's a Kenya that is.
You
There's a
make
Kenya
so
that
much
ought
sense,
to be.
Uh-huh.
Or the Kenya I'd like. So, I always tell my mentor, William Mutunga, there's a Kenya I'd like to see. The Kenya that ought to be. The Kenya I want. The Kenya I'd love. There's a Kenya that is. The Kenya that is does the following. You're told, and I left. And if Modamaki telling you, unaenda,
Left.
tunaenda.
if you're the Luo,
You're-
including Suba, is Raila,
Jacom, tell me
Jacom, and yeah. If it's now the Kalenjins and William, that's
What
I'm-
Kenya would you like to see?
What we're telling people about Kalonzo. Kalonzo wants
Yeah,
to
to know who-
effect this Christian.
Christian?
Yeah. He is Christian, very Christian, evangelical Christian.
The born again variety.
Yes.
Oh, is that what he's bringing to the table?
Yes, that's what
No,
he says.
that's what he says he
He's
is.
bringing to the table. But we know also
He's
that-
bringing
that
for us
we
Christianity.
know the fight he has with the three governors. It's not about that Christianity.
It's about the people.
It's about Law Eastern, or
chief.
so-called Dhoniwa. In fact, the funniest joke I ever saw was my good friend, the late Mutula Kilonzo, was sitting when Kofi Annan was still alive and we were doing the mediation, one of those mediation conferences. Was sitting there, and for some reason we took to each other, and because Mutula was a figure of fascination for me, highly intelligent, Moi defender. And some of us had never had time for Adamse. Because when we saw him, he had his hand on our throat, his foot on our heads. so
Yeah.
all the tear gas I took, all the dogs that we backed back at, and the horses, that was that guy. Anyway, so he
Here's
says,
Mutula.
you know, you guys are very fascinating, meaning you Kikuyus. I said, first of all, why are you calling me part of the Kikuyu? He said, no. You know, at the end of it, I know when you go to whichever polling station, you'll have been singing, but when you mark, you'll mark either Matiba or Kibaki. I said, no. Actually, I went to Temple Road Primary School the first time I voted in 1992, and I marked Jaramogi. Because, again, for me, I was lucky to have been exposed to that politics. Different point. The point is, he had a point that the instrumentalization of ethnicity works as follows. That each community looks for a champion.
Yes.
And in Kenya, so the analysis in Kenya normally was the 3 Ks, 2 Ls. The big 5. So we can sell wildlife as big 5. We can sell Kenya as big 5 in terms of politics. Luo Luya, 2 Ls. Kalenjin Kamba, Kikuyu,
3.
3. Now Somalians are coming, Merus
like-
are coming,
I was like,
Kisii are
Kambas
coming.
qualify.
Yeah. Kambas do.
Oh, they're a
Okay,
populous
but you're
nation.
Yeah.
okay. So you're crystal balling us today.
No, yeah. So let me just finish this story.
Yeah.
So he says, so why among us is it Gemma? G is always so Gikuyu is always before the Embu, the Meru, and so in the textbook the A is association, but the A in real time is a Kamba. Why is it not Agem? And I looked. I said, "What did you just say?" And he looked at me. I said, "No. Why is it?
Why
not
can't you start with a camera?
Yeah. And one day I told some of my friends who are Kalonzo's friends, one of the ways you stop being a political slicking make it Agem. I don't know whether they listened or they, but you can see he's fighting still as an A, huko mwisho. Now, within the G, the break has been between East, West, and Muranga, which are different. So when you're doing crystal balling, two things. One, it sounds like you're reading tea leaves. But actually...
Or entrails, for that matter.
Yeah, or entrails. But there's another thing. This data, I can assure you, there's data involved. This data, which if I shared with you, I'd have to...
I just want to
have to
pick your
kill us
brain.
first.
Yeah.
Yes,
Do we have time?
We've got 30 seconds.
But,
Yeah, we don't- okay.
But the big
So
one,
I'll wait.
the big one, actually, if you want to start, is what Mutahi Ngunyi did in 2013. Tyranny of numbers.
I was going to say, what happened to Mutahi Ngunyi?
Mutahi Ngunyi right now is a state house operator. He's thinking, he's helping Mugambi think through the succession.
Oh, is that what it was? That, oh.
Yes, that's what he's
So he stopped giving us some punchy
No,
lines.
he's there.
still doing
Go
that.
to YouTube and go to Fifth Estate.
Ah,
see,
I've seen the
you see
videos.
Mutai's-
It's
his-
not the same.
His Sunday Nation column is
Is
in that
now
program.
YouTube.
I want me a cup of coffee with that
Mugambi.
man.
Yes.
We thank you very much for coming. Come again.
Oh, but I have to ask him who you think VP is going to be. I would love to hear.
Deputy President.
No, in order for
Who's-
it to work, the combinations have to work.
Yeah. So again, who's
If it's a numbers game,
so-
Raila
so
should take who? Who do you think Raila should take?
If it's a numbers game, with all again respect to everyone, he needs to take Martha Karua.
And
Okay.
Ruto?
Ruto. Again, someone from Mount Kenya. So between Rigathi and Waiguru,
I'd be so happy if it is a female.
Okay.
and both from Kirinyaga, by the way.
Yeah, both Kirinyaga, both Gishogo. Thank you
Both.
very much for coming. Mugambi Kiai is the regional director for Article 19. Thank you very much for come again, and we look into
Invite me, Eric. You know, I enjoy myself in the mornings when I'm watching you not refer to Article 47. When someone is deported, that is the exercise of a judicial power.
Bas.
So you must ask Matiang'i, did you
Go through due
Did you
process.
At
understand-
Article 47.
Did you understand the law?
Did you understand the law? And he'll tell you what there, because they have what they tell you about the law is that in a kufunga nyama.
Yeah, ni gazeti ya kufunga nyama.